Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of Raising the Curtain. It's been a long time since we've had an episode come out, but I'm so excited that I am back with John Poling, and we are going to do another year in review. Fun fact, John, this was my most popular episode out of this entire last year, even though this was only like the 10th episode after the podcast went live. So I'm very excited to have you back. I think it's going to be a really good time, and we have a lot of really cool shows to talk about.
Well, I am excited to be back, and I also wanted to congratulate you because I believe wasn't October the 1 year anniversary of Raising the Curtain
It
podcast?
was, yes. I want to say it was
Yeah.
October 15th. So yeah, we've been doing this for a little over a year now, and I'm very excited for the listeners that we have. We're consistently getting views on episodes, and we're just kind of having this be a learning process for all of us. And I'm really excited for the fact that I've learned how to work with Zoom more, so we're able to interview people out of state. We are able to interview multiple people now, and not just, one or two of us at my kitchen table. So it's exciting. And at the end of the episode, listeners will get to hear about some cool things that Raising the Curtains is going to be doing for the upcoming 2025 theater year. So, I mean, I guess for any new listeners, John, why don't we have you go ahead and just introduce yourself again, who you are and your involvement with the community theater?
Okay. Well, my name is John, and I use my middle initial, D. Poling, and I am a local actor, local playwright. I do reviews for the Pantograph. I direct shows once in a while, and I am just generally a theater bon vivant in Bloomington Normal.
Yes. John and I both get the privilege of reviewing the theater shows in the area. We both review for the Pantograph. Thank you, John, for getting me that gig because I enjoy doing it so much. So yeah, we kind of have some credentials. So why don't we dive right in?
And we should probably mention that most theater companies don't do calendar seasons. So
Correct.
we're going to be talking about everything in 2024, but like community players and Heartland Theater and stuff, they're in the middle of their seasons right now. So
Right.
we're going to talk about things that kind of straddle seasons.
Let's dive right in. 12 Angry Jurors at Community Players is the first one on my list that opened in January of 2024, and that was directed by Jeff Reedy. John, what were your thoughts on the show?
I would say one of the strongest straight plays that was mounted in Bloomington Normal for the whole of 2024. And it came right out of the gate at the beginning of 2024, but it was one of
Yeah.
the strongest plays out there. And for anyone that saw it, Jeff's, I don't know, vision or what you would say, it was a play that started out monochromatic, and
Mm-hmm.
then you began to realize as each juror kind of flipped in their opinion, and suddenly a bit of color was introduced
Mm-hmm.
into the production. And it was unlike anything I had seen before. And Michael Ainsley set with, I think, was it Brandon Pence was the master builder on it?
I think so. That might have been Brandon's first show, actually, but I think so.
The way that jurors room positioned with the apex kind of in the middle of
Mm-hmm.
the stage and elevated, I had not seen that done before on the player's stage,
Yeah.
and it was just really really striking. The whole production was very very good.
Yeah, it was very innovative in terms of set, like you said, and lighting, especially too, with Dan being able to keep that black and white element, but still be able to work with the color that was being implemented. I also believe they had two or three costume designers to really work together to figure out how that color flip was going to happen. And as a costume designer, like that's challenging. And
Yeah.
shout outs to like Mark Robinson and Brian Artman, definitely an ensemble show, but those two, they played together so well. And I loved seeing those two perform on stage together. I know from being able to talk to Jeff about his vision, just from being on the board with him and doing stuff with him at Players, I know he really wanted to show that theme of the justice system as it is today and the similarities with how it used to be. So pay homage to the black and white film that everybody knows and show that as we progress through time, we are still encountering the same issues and biases that plagued us back then. And I think this color, and everyone knows I love color theory. So this color element that came into play, I absolutely agree with you. I thought it was a very well done production. And the casting for it was beautiful.
Disclaimer or whatever, you and I both went out and auditioned for it,
Yeah.
and there was probably 40 plus people that were auditioned,
Yeah.
and so many faces that I had not seen before in the community, and
Yeah.
new talented people.
Yeah, lots of new faces on the stage, lots of faces coming back, which I really appreciated. But oh yeah, Jeff absolutely could have cast the show 4 different times, and had a completely different cast each time, and I'm sure it still would have been just as amazing. Um,
Yeah,
we both direct, and of course, we want everyone to come in and blow us away and make our job hard. But that's always the hard part about being a director is you know you're going to upset someone. You know it's not going to be what everyone wants it to be. But I genuinely felt he did a really good job in casting all 12 of the characters.
absolutely.
Kudos to Jeff on coming out with a big bang for 2024. And shameless plug, Jeff is also taking on the role of One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest for director at Community Players, which is actually on the Pay What You Can preview night, January 2nd of 2025. So Jeff's going to be kicking us off for the 2025 year as well. So we'll get to talk about him again next year. So let's move on here. February, Every Brilliant Thing at Heartland Theater. One-man show.
Yeah, that was
Yeah.
exactly what it is, a one man show. Yeah, Tim
Yeah.
Wyman character, and man, you want to talk about, I mean, that basically, I don't know if it was 90 minutes or not, but say, an
Something
hour and a
like
half
that.
or whatever. And yeah, I mean, that's crazy challenging. And he
Mhm.
did a terrific job with it.
Yeah, I unfortunately was not able to see. I think that's the only Heartland show I was not able to see this past year because I was out of town the week of performances. But I did have a chance to interview is it Aaron Sparks, who was the
Yeah.
playwright for the show, I do believe. Um,
Yeah.
so I
Mhm.
did have a chance to talk to him about the script and really kind of what he wanted from it. And it sounded like it was going to be an amazing production, and I've seen Tim perform before. So I unfortunately can't comment too much on it, just because, like I said, I was not able to see it. Um, so yes, but it sounded like you enjoyed it.
I did. My only quibble with the show was that it is an English play, a British play,
Hmm.
and I feel like the character should be English, the type of language that he uses and things like that. Every
Gotcha.
brilliant thing, like every great thing, and everything like that. And Aaron just made the decision that the character wasn't going to be British; it would be American, and I think it was a little. There was something kind of missing with that.
Okay, valid. Yeah, I didn't realize it was an English show, so I wouldn't even known
Yeah,
that.
yeah.
All right.
As,
Oh, go
Similar
ahead.
to the curious incident of the dog in the night,
Oh
kind of,
yeah,
the English child thing. Yeah.
sure. All right. Let's move on to Space Girl at ISU. I know you saw that one, and I saw a lot of photos. It seemed very colorful.
Yeah, talk about a strange show. I don't even. Uh, uh, Great job to Sage Brown, who was one of the beings. He
Yeah.
took his character Nancy in the whole thing. I really enjoyed it, and they're actually going to do it in Champaign next year. And I believe Nolan Rice is going to direct it, who went to ISU and has done a lot of
Yes.
stuff in Blue Normal. So
And I do want to give a shout out. So Space Girl at ISU was directed by MFA directing candidate John McCall Jr., who we will talk about a little bit later when we hit another show that ISU recently did. And then let's move over here to The Wolves at Wesleyan, one of my favorite shows.
oh my
John,
God.
what was your thoughts on The Wolves?
I did. The production was really good and the acting was really good, but it was probably my least favorite play uh, of this past year. And it's got nothing to do with Wesleyan, nothing to do with the production team or the actresses and anything. I thought the story was not particularly. I mean, it was very touching, and
Hmm.
it, but I didn't think it was that strong of a story, and I thought it was kind of predictable as in terms of where it was going. So that just got in the way for me of really um, enjoying it. Did you do the review for that for the Wolves?
No, I didn't. I
It,
saw it because
I
I
think
had,
Nancy Brokaw did the review for it.
she might have, yeah, no, I don't think the only thing I reviewed at Wesleyan in the spring was Scarlet Pimpernel, which we will talk to because oh boy, that show. Um, but no, I just saw it and I don't know why, but I completely agree with you. It is kind of a very predictable show. So that was the third time I had seen it, and I don't know what it is. There's just something that makes me go, I like this show.
Any college theater program would be crazy not to do it
Right.
because there are so many meaty women's roles in it, where there's
Yeah.
not a lot of plays like that. So
Yeah.
of course you wanted, absolutely.
Yeah. And maybe that's my, feminist women power coming out when I see it. But no, I loved it. Do you recall who directed The Wolves?
Christopher Connolly, yes.
Perfect. Now we're gonna move on to the next show, which was kind of the first show with Nomad Theater. After they announced that they were coming back as an official 501(c)(3) with a fully fledged season, I'm super excited that their year has gone really well and being able to put up a bunch of new productions. But I was actually the director of the next one, so I'm going to keep my mouth shut and let John talk about the pop-up Her Story that was in early March.
Well, my question, it was great. Are they going to do it again for this coming March? I didn't really see it on the stuff that
Yeah,
was sent
so
out.
I think it's currently going to be one of like their detour, how they have like their main season and then they have those detour
Okay,
that are happening.
right.
Just from talking to Connie Blick, I'm not sure if I'm supposed to expose this or not, but I think it might be happening with the Bloomington Library this year since Normal's kind of going
Oh,
through renovation. Because me and her had talked, because that whole experience was a trial and error sort of situation. We had a concept of a plan. Oh, I hate that I just said that. We had a concept of a plan. Um, and we were the actors, the writers, me, Connie, Kristen, we were kind of all learning it as we were going. So I'm going to be working with Connie to kind of put like a guide or like an FAQ sheet together or something like that, just of like the difficulties I had and how we can fix them in the future, how we can help the writers, help the actors, help the director and the designers a little bit more.
well, I thought it was a great success, and I'm glad to hear it's going to happen again. And I think it's going to be, if it is Bloomington, that's great. Kind of share the wealth,
Yeah,
between normal.
absolutely. But I do, when they announced it, it was on their little detour, but I don't know if full official details have been slated about it yet. All right, let's move on to another ISU show, In Pieces, directed by MFA directing candidate Al Altmans. This was, I don't know if it's called if it was an original musical or if it's like it was almost like an in the process musical, if that makes sense.
Yeah,
Um,
I feel like it's something still being workshopped.
Workshop,
It's
that's it.
still in the, yeah. I admired In Pieces a lot. The cast was
Oh, the
fantastic. The
cast was
vocals were
amazing.
fantastic. My only issue is it's basically the story is only told through song, and that's kind of hard when there's no spoken word. There's kind of like just these kind of narrative gaps, that they're kind of, and some of them they're hard to straddle.
Right.
Some more than others. But so that was my only. I mean, I really, like I said, I mean, and maybe admire sounds cliche or whatever, but I mean, I can't think of the person, Joey. You know how to pronounce his last name? Joey Contreras,
Oh, no, I don't.
who wrote it.
No, I don't.
Yep. So wow. I mean, wow. It's so ambitious. I mean, it's just fantastic. It's just a musical that's only done through song. It's just not my thing, I guess.
Valid. And I mean, there's a lot of
Yeah.
shows successful like that, but I get it. It's not everyone's cup of tea. Sometimes you need those few even transition lines
Yeah.
just to kind of get the story moving. So, okay, let's move on to Young Frankenstein, which, John, you were in Young Frankenstein at Community Players, and that was directed by Marsha
Uh,
Weiss.
I know. So, I mean, can I really brag about how great a show it was? But it was. It was a really great show. And I think really what one of the things Marcia excelled at was the casting,
Hmm.
because she cast a lot of the leads. Some had some good experience, but the others were not particularly super experienced or whatever. So she took some risks, and they paid off big time. I mean, the six principals were just great in the
Right?
show.
Yeah, this was I know Tony, who played, I'm gonna get him mixed up, not Victor,
Frederick.
Frederick. Thank you.
Frederick. Yeah.
I know, I don't know if that was his first time ever playing a lead, but I know that was his first time playing a lead on the Players' stage. Um, and oh my God, it's uncanny how much he looks like Gene Wilder. That's
Yeah.
crazy.
So true. The
And
hair and
then
everything.
right, and then of course, Missy, who's no stranger to Players, killed it as Elizabeth. Like that was the perfect role for her.
Oh, God,
I
it
have
really was.
I have seen that woman in so many parts. I've directed her. I've been on stage with her. I think that is the most perfect casting for her I have ever seen. Just in terms of mannerisms and vocal capability. I loved her performance in it.
I completely agree, and I think she was actually interested in Igor when she auditioned. That was really the part that she was kind of wanting to get.
Oh, that's funny. And speaking of Igor, Ben Fetters, hysterical in
Or
everything he does. Oh my God, what an adorable human. I love him so much.
I don't want to get off the actors, but the
Yeah.
tap dancing in the second act,
Right.
putting on the,
Putting on the
you
Ritz.
know,
Yeah.
wonderful.
And I don't want to say it's hard to find tap dancers, but it's I mean, tap is hard. Like tap
It
is
is hard.
not,
I would
not
say
for the
it is
faint
hard
of heart.
for
Yeah.
tappers. There's just not a ton of people that have tap experience. That's why. I mean, like Peoria Players just announced 42nd Street for their one of their shows next season, and like doing a number like We're in the Money and the number of tap dancers you need to really pull that off, it would terrify me as a director. That would I be able to find enough people to do that?
Yeah. And they also just announced they're doing Young Frankenstein too. Anything else you want to say about Young Frankenstein?
No, it was just, from an actor's perspective, it was a lot of fun. It was just a
Mhm.
really fun show to do it, and I bows every night were just hysterically funny to
It was
do.
fun. It was a fun show. And I'll be honest, like I had seen the movie, but I had never seen the stage production of it. And I was just sitting there the whole time because I think I reviewed that show. I'm just sitting there the
You
whole
did,
time going
yeah.
like just with this stupid grin on my face. Like it's so cute. All right, let's keep going here. Probably okay. I don't want to say no. Probably my favorite show that I saw this entire year was the Scarlet Pimpernel at Wesleyan. Um, and I must say, I saw a tech run. Not even like a preview. I went because I don't know if I was working on another show at the time, but there was only one night I could go, and I had to go like when they were still figuring out scene changes. But even then, like I was truly blown away by the talent in that production. It was
It
beautiful.
was great. And it's and one of those that's so male heavy. It's like,
Right.
are you going to have a quality musical actors to pull it off? And boy, Wesleyan did. I mean, I love the production. It's so funny, so many of the times.
Oh, yes. So funny. And oh, I think his name's Albert, um, who played
Yes.
Percy. Um, I believe he is in the touring production of Tina right now, maybe.
Oh wow.
Yeah, someone might have to fact check me on that, but I believe he's on a tour right now with someone, and I think it's Tina. But yeah, someone Google that. Um, but the three main leads, I'm pulling up my program here to get their names because I was just astounded by how beautifully talented they were. So Claire Flynn as Marguerite, Albert Sterner as Percy, and Sam Fahrenkrug. I hope I'm saying that right, Sam. As I'm going to mispronounce this as Shavlin.
Mm-hmm.
They, just astounding performers. I know I keep saying that, but I can't praise them enough. That show still lives rent free in my head. And
And
I could see it again.
the one of the I would the one that I if I had to compare the two, I liked Edwin Drood a little bit more. But both were directed by Michael Hance. So,
Yes.
two big musicals for him, in one calendar
Yeah.
year.
Yeah, I didn't get a chance to see Edwin Drood. So we'll definitely have to talk about that one as well, but I'm sure it was just as good. I really love the productions that Wesleyan puts out. Um,
Dude,
like so if you I mean, and I'll say this, I'll be the first person to say it. When we did this year in review last year, I was the first to say I did not see a single show at Wesleyan last year. Even if I wasn't the reviewer, I'm making it a priority to see shows at Wesleyan. Um, so if you've never seen anything there, go check out Wesleyan's theater program because they are very good and they put on great productions.
and I think part of the reason that I like it is the venue.
The
That Jerome
Jerome Mersa,
yeah, that's so great for
it's a great
musicals.
space.
Not too overwhelming and everything. And their lab theater is
Mhm.
great too, and not to take anything away from ISU spaces, they're great as well. But there's just something about those spaces. And then also, if you do go, regularly, since their program is smaller, you start to know these actors, right? And
Yeah,
it's summer stock company where you get to see what their different things that they're able to do because each production they're playing a totally different character,
mhm.
and it's a great program, I think.
Yeah, I absolutely agree. So it looks like, let me scroll down here. It looks like Scarlet Pimpernel is what wrapped up March for us. So let's go into April with Clyde's over at Heartland. Clyde's is one of my favorite Lynn Nottage shows. I think it was a really good choice for Heartland space. And I loved the set, even the fact that, there was steam coming off of that stove when Noe was flipping those burgers. It
That
was
was the first
so
thing
good.
I was going to mention, was that set and the fact that it really looked like that fryer and everything was actually
Yeah,
work, right, that they were
right.
really
It was great.
really cooking.
And that was directed by Jason A. Vales, right?
Yes,
Okay,
Jason directed that show.
perfect. Give Jason credit.
But really enjoyed it, and a good way for Heartland to do some, non-traditional casting and things like that. That it's some of the plays that they do. It's harder, right, to
Yeah.
cast roles, and Clyde's really, was a feather in the cap, I think, for Heartland. It was a really good production, and now I can't think of the young woman's name that played Clyde in it. Um,
Ashleigh.
Ashleigh, yes, Ashleigh.
Ashleigh
She had,
Daniels, I think.
yeah, she. I don't think she'd had a huge amount of lead roles and things like that, and she knocked it out of the park as
Yeah.
Clyde. So,
So she was the foreman in 12 Angry Jurors.
yes,
And
that's right. Yeah,
and then
yeah,
she went over to Clyde's. So I adore seeing Sean Henderson on stage. Um, I had the privilege of working with Sean when he came to Players back in 2019 for A Few Good Men. And I don't know if that was ever his first time on stage, but I know it was the first time he had been on stage in a long time. So I really love getting the chance to see him perform and see how much he has grown.
yeah.
That's really rewarding for me to see. And Sean is also one of the nicest people you'll ever meet.
That
Um,
was A Few Good Men was the first time I remember seeing him in
yeah,
anything. I was like, "Who is this
yeah.
guy?
And
Where?"
he was in the Marines, so it was almost kind of intimidating working with him. But no, Sean was great, and I thought he did great in that role as well. Honestly, that whole cast was very strong. Um,
Yes, it was very strong ensemble cast
I
for sure.
know Noe, Chloe, Sean, Ashleigh. I know I'm forgetting.
Rick Benson,
Thank
um,
you.
and I think that I hate to say it, may have been everybody.
I
I
think
hope,
there's only five.
yeah,
I don't know. I feel like there was a sixth too, but I don't know. Well,
yeah.
whoever, if we're forgetting someone, we apologize. Your performance
Yes,
was great.
we make a blanket statement. Apologies for the mistakes that we made, the omissions that we make.
Right. Like it's not intentional. This
Yeah.
is a podcast. We're just having a conversation. All right. Let's move on to a Midsummer Night's Dream at ISU, directed by the ever lovely Connie DeVere, who I adore. Midsummer is just a magical, mystical show. Um, I will say, I this could be me, but I feel like Midsummer has been done a lot within the
Oh,
Bloomington, Peoria area within the last maybe 2, 3 years.
it's crazy how many productions, and I believe there's one more coming up next year. Somebody's doing it, but yeah, I mean, it's just one of those shows that, for whatever reason, a lot of different
People
groups
are doing.
are doing it right now.
Well, even
But
I
this
know.
uh,
Oh no, you're fine.
2024 being the year of Brown, he was
Yeah,
he was bottom in this one. So yeah,
yeah,
he's had a very good year.
yeah, absolutely. John, did you have a chance to see Midsummer?
I did, yeah. Connie's direction was fantastic
Yeah.
on it.
And Connie has I don't know if it's a specialty, I would call it a specialty. Connie has a specialty in dialect. Um,
Yes.
so I think that always benefits when you have a really solid dialect coach coming in and really helping with that sort of thing. Um, I did not see Midsummer. I saw the photos of it and it looked beautiful. I think we mentioned Sage Brown previously, but I believe he was also in that show. I think he play Puck?
But
Bottom.
yeah, he was bottom in it. Yeah.
Awesome.
And he
Yeah,
was great.
well,
He
yeah.
really, I mean, like, so he did Space Girl, and then he did Midsummer, and then he did the Shakespeare Festival, I think, after that. So
Yeah, I think so too. And then we'll talk about him a little bit later, I'm sure, with The Lion in Winter.
yeah, then I
Um,
snapped for the Lion in
yeah,
Winter. So
he's had a lot of Shakespeare, Old English going on
yeah.
recently. I actually had a chance to interview Sage for the podcast for A Lion in Winter, and he had mentioned that he had like a theme going recently of doing these Shakespearean-esque shows.
Well, I told you my favorite part of that interview was when you're both like talking about cabaret, and you're like, "Wait, you were in that? I was in that."
Right. Well, it's like we never interacted on stage together other than like the finale or when he was, at the club and we were performing, right?
Right.
Um,
Lift at the club very much in that play.
exactly.
Yeah.
I was up there half naked and having the time of my life. So yeah, with my little ballet bun and my thick old bangs. So all right, let's see here. Midsummer. Okay, so Panther Women at Coalescence. Um, I know. I think they only had 2 or 3 performances. Did you have a chance to catch one of them?
I did. I didn't
Okay.
see anything else this year in Coalescence, and I apologize, Dawn and company, for that. But I did see Panther Women, and it was a very moving show.
Mhm.
Um, Panther Women having to do with the Black Panthers. If you know anything about that civil rights group in the late 1960s and things, and phenomenal cast.
Oh, it was a
Real,
great cast.
yeah.
Yeah.
I can't think of Aurora's last name, but
Thorpe?
she. What's that? Yeah, Aurora
Thorpe.
Thorpe. Yeah,
Thorpe.
was the lead in it. I think I would consider the lead. Yeah.
I would consider that as well. When I was actually interviewing Don, when we were kind of doing like the introduction to the theaters, and he had mentioned it, I was like, oh, I don't know how I found that script, but I found it one day, and it's a really impressive show. And then I got to interview Maisha, who was the director of the show, and she was great to talk to.
I'm
Um,
trying to think of the space where they had it. It was a little bit different,
yeah, it
but I
wasn't at
can't.
the First Christian Church, was it?
Yes, I think it was. I think the setup was a little bit different than
Yeah,
they the past. That was
because they
what it was.
didn't. I don't believe, if I recall, it wasn't on the stage.
No,
It was like
they had
a faux stage on the floor.
cubes that they sat on and stuff
Yeah,
they around and things. Yeah.
yeah, and I think Opal Virtue was the costume designer, I believe. Um, and they were all in like different elements of camo print of like
Yes, I do.
combat wear.
Yeah, yeah.
I want to say they like performed that down in Champaign or something and toured with it for a second. I could
I,
be wrong.
Springfield somewhere they took it. I think kind of on the road. Yeah,
Yeah, they took it somewhere.
because
Which I mean, that's very cool. You
I
don't
think
hear
Don
that much.
Chandler's done that twice this year.
Yeah.
I think the last show that they did, um, now I have to look back at your sheet here. Uh, Dr. Vanyich and her children.
Yeah.
I feel like here and also in Springfield, maybe that they did it,
Yeah.
or they seem, or maybe working out something with Decatur too, with Richland. So I'm not sure, but yeah.
Interesting. Yeah. Uh, Check out Coalescence. They do have a travel element to some of their shows, which is really cool.
They are, if you want to know who is doing some of the most challenging stuff out there in the community, material that challenges the audience, challenges the actors, it's Coalescence
Oh
that's
yeah,
doing that.
absolutely. I would completely agree with that statement. All right. Well, we are just trucking along here. Let's move into May. And we're going to jump back to Nomad Theater with the Warehouse Plays, which took place at I'm going to botch this name, the Catamaco, I think is how you pronounce
Yeah, yeah, Catamico, yeah.
it. Also known as the Slug Factory.
Yeah, I don't know how it got the name the Slug
I
Factory,
don't
but
either.
I can't think of Adam's last name. It's his space, and
Yes.
he's a local entrepreneur that his big claim to fame was the toilet
What
timer. But
timer?
now, yeah, he's branched out and done all kinds of stuff, whatever. And he knew Connie, and I think they got to talking about the space and everything. And he was like, he was looking to use this. He's already used it for like parties and stuff like
Yeah.
that. So they're like, hey, how about it as a performance space? And it worked out really well. It was, Dave Crossell, the one that he wrote, was kind of like a girl's version of the Fight Club that took place
Yeah.
at the house. And mine was centered around a pinball machine that actually exists there at the warehouse, and a couple arguing over it because the husband was kind of addicted to the game and such like that. Um, but yeah, I'm kind of blanking too on different ones, but I'll be very well received. I think it was two or 3 days, and
Yeah.
all of them sold out, so it was
Yeah.
very successful.
All right. So then let's move on here. We're going to jump back to community players with I Hate Hamlet, directed by Sally Perry.
Casting John Bowen as the Barrymore character was brilliant. I mean,
Yes,
because John is equal parts, a very good actor, right? But
mhm,
also knows how to ham it up as
he
well too.
does.
Guy needed to be. It was a ham and a prima donna and that kind of thing. So in a lot of ways, John was really good for that. Not that in person, John is not a prima donna or anything like
No,
that,
John is a
but
very humble person.
he is. But he played the character very,
He
very
did.
well. And
Now,
I
yep,
had not seen Ben Croft before in anything. Had he
that
done?
was not in the community. He graduated from ISU with a degree in public relations and
Okay.
found his way to players. I know he's currently planning a wedding right now.
Uh,
So maybe once that's done, we'll get to see Ben back on stage more.
and
Um,
then the young woman that played his girlfriend, Deidre.
see,
Yeah, do we know her? Has she done stuff before?
she is a graduate of ISU's SOTD.
Oh,
Um, yeah, I'm trying to the big thing that I remember seeing her in when I was through the program was Men on Boats. I know she was in
yeah,
that.
that
Yeah,
was really good.
it was very good. She was the one with the eye patch.
Oh, okay,
Yeah,
okay.
that was Cassie. Cassie, I believe, has now taken over for the legendary Kevin Vernon for the drama department
Oh,
over at Community.
all the pieces together. Yes, I have met Cassie. Kevin introduced me to her, and I said, "So, what are you doing as your first production over at Normal Community?" She said they were going to do Peter and the Starcatcher,
Yeah,
and I think it went pretty well. The show went pretty well over there. So, yeah.
good. But yeah, and then we also had Jake Marshall in the show, Diane Walker, who I just love Diane so much. And then Opal Virtue.
Yeah,
Uh,
Opal played like a kind of wacky. Was she a real estate
she was
agent or
a
something?
she was a psychic real estate agent.
That was it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
Jake,
Diane played Andy's agent.
yeah, Diane was great, and Jake Marshall. Anything that I see him in, he's always good. Yeah,
Right.
I loved him in this play.
I agree. No, he's fun. I really enjoy watching Jake. He was great in 12 Angry Jurors too. Um,
Yes.
unbiased opinion, I thought he was great in James and the Giant Peach too, which we'll
I
talk
was
about.
around in James and Giant Peach, right? So
Yeah,
yeah, he had a
so
busy year.
good times. All right, let's move on to so I have Ghosts next, which was the 10-minute play festival over at Heartland. Which when I that was actually how I got my foot in the door at Heartland, wasn't with Ghosts, but it was with their 10-minute production. I think the library was the theme
Yeah,
the year I started doing stuff there. So I did not see Ghosts. What did you think of Ghost, John?
I liked it. I thought, like any year, some players were stronger than others.
Sure.
Um, but there was one towards the end that was about the Yeti, and I think Jeff Reedy was in it, and Jason Cook, and Brooke Noonan. I can't remember if there are any others in that or not, but it was funny. And then they kind of led you to believe that the Yeti was loose in the theater, kind of thing, and there were people that were beating the walls behind the seats and stuff. It was kind of fun.
Oh, fun.
But the whole thing was another good year. I think this coming year the theme is rummage sales,
Rummage
and I
sales.
think that's
Yeah.
going to be a yeah, for just lots of opportunities to do interesting stuff with that
Yeah.
idea of a rummage sale.
No, that's very cool. I always enjoy the themes that they pick. I feel like they're so off the wall sometimes, but sometimes that's what you need for theater, right?
And Todd Weinberger, he doesn't pick them by himself or anything like that, but he has led the committee for a long time, the play selection committee for the 10-minute plays, and he has a really good sense, of what will work and what won't work, particularly in terms of themes, what will generate ideas and things like that. So there's really a good person at the helm of that whole thing.
Good deal. All right. And then we're actually going to have two back to back here. The SpongeBob's.
Oh
Did you?
yeah.
Yeah, the SpongeBob's. So I have Penguin Project did. I believe they did the junior version of SpongeBob. Were you able to see that production?
No, I only saw the normal Parks and Rec.
Okay. Yeah, I unfortunately was not able to see the Penguin Project one either, but I do know Trey Campbell and Akaya Rice were the choreographers for it. And just having worked with them in the past, I'm sure the choreography for it was so good. I saw a lot of photos. Jackie Gunderson does a really great job of promoting their shows. There were just a few date overlaps with the Town of Normal SpongeBob, unfortunately. So I was not able to attend it. But if you had a chance to see the Penguins Project, please, shoot me an email and let me know how it was. I would love to give them some dues here. Um, so with that, I'm going to move on to the Town of Normal's SpongeBob, which again, little bias. I was the choreographer for it. So I got to, choreograph a tap dancing squid, which was great. More tap. So what do you think of the Town of Normal's production, John?
I liked it. I particularly liked Jen Bethman's set design for
Yeah.
it because it's the kind of production that really your imagination can run wild, but you have to be able to build it
Yeah.
and get it in like 10 seconds or whatever.
Yeah.
And it was just a really imaginative production, and I just remember lots of hues of purple and pink and orange and whatever. Just really pretty, a very pretty production too.
Did you see both casts or did you only see one cast?
No, I know Marsden, so I would
Okay.
have whatever cast he was in. I went and saw that
Okay.
production that night.
Perfect.
Yeah,
Yeah, that was such a fun show to do. And again, we've said it before, tap is a beast. And I remember one of my U High students actually, I put her in the tap number and she's like, Ashley, I've never put on a pair of tap shoes in my life. And I'm like, well, you're about to. And all of those kids, any of the choreography, they worked so hard. They really tried.
and players happens to be doing SpongeBob this
They
summer.
sure
So
are.
they, haven't gotten enough of their SpongeBob fix, they can head over to Players and audition for that
Yeah,
show.
absolutely. So, all right. So that's our SpongeBob fix, which puts us into the trio of, nope, I lied. We're not in the trio yet. We're moving to Nomad again. with Shaken Not Stirred, which happened at Shake It Up Cocktail Lounge. Before I forget, let me jump back one. SpongeBob with the Town of Normal was directed by Kristen Monson. I feel like we're giving all the directors a shout out. I think I needed to throw her in there.
Well done.
Well done, Kristen. So Shaken Not Stirred was another 10-minute series that Nomad Theater put together that happened at Shake It Up Cocktail Lounge. Say that 5 times fast. In downtown Bloomington, and those were directed by Brett Catoni. Again, another series of 8 plays that all took place in a bar. A lot of the production centered around dating. And
Yeah, that's right.
yeah, like, first date, speed dating, fantasy dates, if you will, and one Shakespeare.
Yeah, the first one, wasn't it? A Shakespeare kind of thing.
I don't know if it was the first one or the last one.
I'm remembering Dean Brown in one of
Yeah,
them. That's Shakespeare.
yeah.
Yeah.
It was Dean and Nick Benson. I was the
Ah,
costume for it.
yes.
So
Who was Nick in the costume? I can't remember.
they both were.
Oh, both of them were? Okay.
Yeah, they were
Okay.
both in Shakespeare costumes. Dean actually wore the costume that John Bowen wore in I Hate Hamlet.
Oh, is that right?
Yeah. And then Nick was in like a black tunic thing with gold trim.
Nick stands out in my mind more than anything. I don't know why. I don't remember what his costume was exactly, but
That's funny.
it was funny.
Yeah.
So the one that stands out to me was, and I don't remember the actor's last name. Sharon. It was Sharon Russell and Ben something.
Oh yeah, what was his name? Yes, Ben Hack. Is that his last name?
Is a hack or hacked or something like that. Yeah,
Yeah,
and
Ben Hack.
like kind of like a tennis match kind of a deal with
It was very
the lines back and forth kind of thing. Yeah.
Yeah. It definitely reminded me of oh my goodness, Who's on First?
Yeah, Abbott and Costello kind of thing. Yeah.
Yeah. That's what it reminded me of like, well, I'm not getting the beach house. No, you're getting the beach house. Well, I want the beach house. Well, I want the Ford. I want the Ford. No, you're getting the beach house. I don't even know if that's what they were talking about, but I remember a beach house.
Well, that's very good though, even if it wasn't what they're talking about.
Right. Like, I want the Mustang. No. Get the kids these days. I don't know. Yeah, it was a very back and forth. That one stood out to me. The Shakespeare one stood out to me. And then there was one with Caleb Pulliam Mendoza and Nick Benson. And it took place on Christmas Eve. And she was they were like high school best friends, high school sweethearts, something like that.
Yeah.
Find out that that Kayla's character is actually a ghost.
Yeah.
She was killed in a car accident or something. And Nick is like hallucinating her because he's alone in this bar on Christmas Eve. And it was like, oh, my heart. So yeah, that was Shaken Not Stirred. Now we're going to move on to Shakespeare Fest with Twelfth Night was first. Let me pull up who that director was if you don't know off the top of your head.
I believe it was Robert Quinlan was Twelfth Night director.
You're correct. Perfect. What did you think of Twelfth Night?
I liked it a lot. But I think we talked about this last year. I'm kind of plebeian. I lean towards the comedies more than the serious drama tragedy stuff. So that I like Twelfth Night more than Macbeth is probably not any big surprise.
Valid. 12th Night, I feel like 12th Night's always kind of forgotten about. Almost like 12th Night and Taming of the Shrew. People forget about those two. I think it's always, Macbeth, Hamlet, Romeo and Juliet. I don't know. Like, I always forget about 12th
Well,
Night.
yeah, it's not among his top 10, I would say. If you ask people to reel off, Shakespeare's plays, well, tumble out of their mouth. But and I think it was the one excuse me. I think it was the one that they had a little like kind of, I don't want to say like a pool, but a thing of water on the stage. Do you remember that? And the actor like jumped into it
vaguely
and out. Yeah.
Yeah, very, very vaguely. I don't think I saw Sense and Sensibility. There was one of the three that I couldn't see, but I'm pretty sure it was Sense and Sensibility that I didn't see.
I I reviewed Sense and Sensibility. I liked it. It was good.
Fantastic. Well, that's perfect.
Yeah.
That's the next one on my list. Who was the director for Sense and Sensibility?
Oh, I don't I don't want to say the name because I'm gonna mess it up. Quetta Quetta
Yeah,
Carpenter.
I was gonna say it was
Yeah,
a name I hadn't recognized.
and it was her adaptation too,
Oh,
from the book. Yeah,
well, I'm kind
so
of bummed I didn't see it.
she was basically the playwright, or the play adapter in the whole thing.
Very cool. So, I
I had
mean,
seen
yeah,
an
you
actress
reviewed it.
there at the Shakes Fest in previous years because I remember her.
Yeah.
I think I remember her in Lear a season or two back. So
Oh, that's good. So, I mean, you reviewed it. What'd you think of it? You said you liked it.
I did. I did. I will. I will say this kind of overall note uh, for this past season. The productions were great, top notch as they always are. I felt like in all the productions that the sets were not as kind of elaborate or I don't know,
Sure.
as detailed as they had been in past seasons. This
Sure.
in 2024 they didn't seem quite, I don't know, quite up to what they had been in the past.
Sure.
But you know, it, the set's only one element of
Right.
everything. And so, but I know like a couple years ago when I reviewed Much Ado About Nothing, and it was like the set was a Tuscan village, and the
Yeah.
lighting, was so cool, and they had a big fountain in the middle of it and everything, and it was like, you just walked into the space and you're like, wow, this
Like
is
I'm
really
here.
cool. I didn't have any of those moments this season, there, but all the productions were very good, and I wish John Stark a happy retirement, and
Yes.
Robert Quinlan all the luck in the world, in his new role as artistic director.
All right, everyone. Thank you so much for tuning in for part one of a year in review with my guest, John Poling. Make sure to join us again for our next episode as we continue our review of the 2024 Bloomington Normal Theater Year as we pick up with the Holiday Spectaculars Celebrate America.